friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to do a bit of an updates video, slightly different than I normally do. I'm just going to talk about a few select things that are going on because I feel like they're the most important things rather than just like scanning around and being like most of this is fine. There's like a few select things that I want to talk about that are good and a few select things that are bad, and I thought I would share them with you today. But before I get into it, I just want to say, if you're new here and you don't know me already, hi, my name is Emma and I make houseplanting content all over the internet. So if you want to follow along with my houseplanting journey and maybe learn something along the way, stick around, watch some more of my videos, and subscribe to my channel. If you're not new here, thanks for coming back. I really hope you enjoy these updates as well. So, the first one, if you've seen one of my previous plant tours videos this month, you will know that I found freaking Phthalmites inside of my IKEA cabinet. And I'm pretty sure they're also outside of my IKEA cabinet, but I found them definitely on two plants in there. I found them on my Hoya compacta variegata, as well as my Warocqueanum, which I was really freaking annoyed about. So I started doing some sulfur treatments, and that is what these spots are on all of the plants. Let me pull this out. So all of these plants are covered with whitish, yellowish water spots. That is just the sulfur powder, in theory, doing its thing. But I definitely need to give it another spray. It's been over a week now since I did those first ones, and I think it is definitely time to do so again. I think you're supposed to repeat every 7 to 10 days for the course of 8 weeks in order to get rid of flat mites, which is a lot. So I am not looking forward to doing that, but I just have to live with the fact that my cabinet's going to look a little bit funky. You can barely tell on the begonia because it's already spotty, but yeah, it's just going to have to be this way for a little bit until the problem is gone, and I'll probably have to do it in other places in my collection as well. But for now, I'm just trying it out in the cabinet, and if that works, I'll carry on to the rest of my collection, because it is a lot of work to spray all of these plants down. I was basically making sure that I sprayed the tops of the leaves, the backs of the leaves, the stems, the soil. I also cleaned out the whole cabinet, which took ages. So it's not a fun process, and it is quite tedious, and it does need repeating. So that is kind of my life at the minute with this cabinet, unfortunately. I need to keep on top of it in order to hopefully not have the flat mite return. And then maybe I can take things like the Regal and the Warocqueanum out of this cabinet permanently, because I did want to move them out, but I didn't think it made sense to do it while treating things, because I don't want to spread pests around if I can at all help it. I can do a more in-depth video on flat mites in some time once I've figured them out a little bit better and hopefully gotten rid of them. I can share my experience with that all through. But I did notice them by eye at first, which is crazy because they are freaking tiny. Like the tip of a pin tiny, not the head of a pin, the tip of a pin tiny. So small. You would not see them unless you are actually looking very, very closely, and like either with a magnifying glass. Even then you could still miss them. But I confirmed that they were flat mites by using my little USB microscope. Basically, you kind of need the microscope to be able to see them like accurately. But once I put the microscope on them, I knew that that's what they were. I watched them crawl around, which was awful, and I just basically assumed that they were on the rest of the things in here, because a lot of the Hoyas at the back, they haven't been growing very well for me, like at all. And I think I actually got rid of the Grey Ghost because it was just, I think, too far gone, unfortunately, from the flat mite damage. I probably could have kept it, but I just like, unless it's like a super duper duper important plant to me at this moment, and I don't think I could get it back somehow, part of me just wants to like get rid of the problem by getting rid of some of the plants, which I know isn't necessarily ideal. But there's most of the things in here I do want to keep. They're in my Millsville cabinet because I really, really like them and I want to give them the best possible opportunity. So it's a bit of a balance. I don't really have much in here that I could just chuck, unfortunately. Not that I think that's the best option, but if you want to get them out of your home, it might be the best option. Next up, we need to talk about my Glorious, because holy frickin' cow. This is on the floor. And do you see how big this leaf is? Compared to my head, it is huge. And I think it's still not quite hardened off altogether yet. And it's freaking pushing out another leaf at the minute. But it is so, so, so tall. I am going to have to do something with it sooner rather than later. I think what I want to be doing, which I don't think I'm going to do in this video, because I think it's going to take a minute, I'll probably do it in a dedicated video, is where I've joined two poles together, I think I'm going to chop this here, because I know this has roots into the pole. It's in there. And then I'll take this top bit out of this pole and then put it into the bottom. In theory, that makes sense to me, and I think it will work. But I am just astounded by how big and beautiful this plant is. I think this is one that I obviously hoped would get big, but didn't really expect to get as big as it did. And it's just been growing so, so, so well for me. Loving the pole life, putting out leaf after leaf after leaf, like constantly for these past summer months. It doesn't get tons and tons of light, like direct light here. It's got this lamp here, which is a Sansi bulb that goes on, I think, an hour before sunset. So in the summer, it might be on for an hour, because then it goes off at 10 automatically. So it's not on for very much, and I think because I've been really, really good at watering these moss poles, it has loved it, and I've been watering them with fertilizer water as well. So all of the roots that are within this pole are getting like proper good nutritious water and getting the nutrients it needs. I've barely ever touched the soil down there because most of the roots for this plant are in this pole. It is a little bit dry right now. I do need to hydrate it. I haven't hydrated it since I've got home yesterday evening. I was away in Bristol this past weekend for the plant swap, and then Joe and I took some time to drive around Wales looking at wedding venues. If you're on my Patreon, expect something there about that. Yeah, I wasn't able to water this pole obviously while I was away. I gave it a good drenching before I went, but it was like the peak of the heat wave this past weekend in the UK. It was like probably over 30 degrees inside of homes, instead of my home, though I wasn't here. That would have caused the pole to dry out, and I suppose I could have wrapped it in cling film, but because I was only going for a week, I didn't feel like I needed to. And it's still, like, it's not gone hydrophobic yet. I can still feel that there's some moisture in there, so if I put water in the cup as I normally would, it'll be absolutely fine, and I'll be able to hydrate it as normal. No. No, 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 no. Was that a thread? I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm just gonna say it was dust. No! Frick! There's thrips on it. That is awful. There were adult thrips. So maybe they've just flown onto it because we've had like the windows open, obviously. That is particularly frustrating. I only saw 2. Yeah, I genuinely don't see any more. So I don't think I need to worry about it. It's fine. I'll just keep an eye on it. That's minorly inconvenient, but I'll keep an eye on it, and when I do this pole, like proper surgery, I guess I'm going to be doing for this to make sure I extract it well enough, it'll be, I'll bring you with me, because it's probably going to be extremely nerve-wracking for me, and stressful, and probably good to show how one would do that sort of surgery on this sort of pole because it's gonna be intense. So I'll put this one back up here. Oh my goodness. I've actually got a few more in this area that I want to talk about. Oh my goodness, I also didn't say, I don't know if you can see that, but this little guy is a new leaf from the bottom cutting. Well, I guess it was the top cutting before, but I put a second cutting in the bottom, and it's finally freaking growing, which is amazing. Not huge, but it's great. The next one being my Monstera frickin' dubia. If I can get it down carefully. It's kind of hard to show because it is quite tall as well, but look how well it is doing. Oh my goodness. Like, the leaves are like the size of my palm now, and I am so stoked on that. You can see it was big and beautiful down here. Right when I got it, it had a bit of a runner, and since then I've put it on moss pole, and it's been loving that and growing so freaking fast. I've had to refill this moss pole several times because it just keeps putting out leaf after leaf after leaf, which is incredible. I don't think I could have asked for better, but I think this leaf was coming out when I left on Friday, and this is what's back now, a week later, so it's Thursday now. But yeah, it is just fantastic, and I am definitely going to be needing to sort something out with this one. What I might do is, like, because it's on a plank at the bottom, I might trim it like there-ish and let the bottom bit go into soil, because in theory it's rooted all the way along, and most of the roots are going to be on the pole anyways with this one because that's how it lives. So hoping that's okay. There is one more bit of good news in this area, and if you've watched like any of my shorts or Instagram reels or anything, you will freaking know that my Thai constellation finally, after I swear, like a year of doing nothing, put out a new freaking leaf, and it is gorgeous. Like, look at all those splits on there. It's not got tons and tons of variegation, but I'm not the biggest fan of sectoral variegation like this anyways, because as you can see, it goes brown. This one didn't go brown for ages, actually, which is great. But I much prefer this sort of dappled, starry variegation anyways. And this leaf has some beautiful little specks on there. And, oh my goodness. I freaked out when I saw that it was putting out a new leaf. I didn't even notice because I stopped looking at this one, honestly. I stopped looking because I didn't want to keep getting my hopes up that, like, ooh, maybe it'll put out a leaf soon, and then just not. So I stopped looking, and so I didn't notice this one until the leaf was like fully kind of out of its cataphyll on the previous one. And it's freaking growing. I think it's because I've been a bit more on top of watering it lately, and again, I am watering with nutrient solution. It is in semi-hydro, which it has been essentially since I like rescued it ages and ages ago. If you want to see how I rescued this plant from terrible root rot, which Thai constellations tend to be prone to, unfortunately. Since then, it's been a slow grower, but slow and steady. I'd rather slow and steady and still living than like quick and dies out quickly. So yeah, finally put out a new leaf, and I mean, I think it's because I've been using nutrient water in the semi-hydro. When I say nutrient water or fertilizer water, I am always using liquid gold leaf. It is the only fertilizer I use. It is the best stuff, and my plants absolutely freaking love it. I could bang on about it forever, and I am actually an affiliate with them as well. So if you're interested in trying it out for yourself or trying out their other products, you can use my link in the description. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a discount on it, but I do get a tiny bit of commission off of your orders at no extra cost to you. It just makes my life a little bit easier, and you can support me that way. But obviously, no pressure to ever use an affiliate link. And I don't bang on about stuff that I don't love. And I feel like I bang on about Liquid Gold Leaf constantly. So I think it's because it's doing quite well. Also, I am quite pleased with the amount of inner nodal space. It's not big, which is good, because compared to my other Monstera, which I guess I'll show you in a second, which could very well be a Borsigiana, this is like very tight internodal space. So yeah, that is beyond exciting for me. And I was unfortunately away when it like kind of flattened out, so I just have like pictures of it curled up before. And so when I got home yesterday, I got to like finally look at it for the first time, which was so exciting. And yeah, just like amazing. I'm like, this corner is doing very freaking well at the minute, and I'm loving it. Let's talk about this Monstera. This is what I was talking about when I was talking about the internodal space. It just seems so much longer than that of my Thai, and I don't think it's because it's in too dark of a spot. This area actually gets quite a lot of sunlight, especially in the afternoon. My bird of paradise is here, and that's a sun-loving plant. But the thing I really wanted to talk about on this one is that it has thrips. I noticed it the other day because this leaf was getting a bit funky, and I moved the little sachet, which I think is expired at this point, but I moved the sachet, and there was just like loads of thrips crawling around there. And on the new leaf at the top, you can kind of see all of that damage. It's all from thrips, which frickin' sucks. I've kind of been manually squishing them just because I'm kind of too lazy to pull this plant out. It's just kind of a lot of work to do so. But I do want to like switch this one's moss pole as well, similar to how I want to do the Glorious. This one just needs, oh, you can see them there. See those little guys crawling about? Ugh. Just manually squishing them. Which is definitely not the easiest way to go about things, but it's what I have capacity for at the minute. I've actually just folded down that new leaf as well. I don't know how well you can see in there, but there are tons of thrips on the back of that. I might actually just cut off this top leaf. I kind of did that on this one. Let me see. You can see I cut off a big section of it just because it was riddled with thrips, and I figure removing it is the easiest way to remove them. So I'm tempted to just cut this leaf off, unfortunately. And then once I cut it off, in theory there might not be any more, but there probably still will. I'll treat it in a little bit. But what I was saying is I want to do similar to this one, how I do, or I'm planning to do the Glorious, because it is two moss poles on top of each other. I can chop it about there and then plant this top bit back in the bottom and then keep this top on, because it really cannot get any taller because it is just under Cleo's bed here. Miss Cleo is sleeping as per usual, her morning nap. But yeah, less than ideal. And even though these plants are literally touching, I have not seen any thrips on my bird of paradise. I feel like the Monstera is ever so slightly like thinner in its leaves than the bird of paradise, and so the bird of paradise hasn't like been as attractive to it. Given I should probably wash my hands before I touch literally anything else. But that is the pain in the butt that is my Monstera at the minute. Needs a lot of doing, unfortunately. I'm not going to do it today because I don't think I have the energy, but probably next week will be time for me to actually get this done. The last plant that I want to talk about in this room is my Schismatoglottis wallachii, which I think I'm getting a much better handle on its watering needs, especially now that I've changed the soil to something a little bit more moisture retaining, something that I'm familiar with. I switched it to Soil Ninja's, I think, Calathea and Maranta soil, or it was Alocasia mixed with bark or something like that. Either way, it's now in some like really nice Soil Ninja stuff, and it is doing so much better. It is also not fainting as much. I'm not letting it faint as much. I'm being much more on top of watering it. That being said, I think I forgot to water it before I went away last weekend, and I came back to it being very droopy, like fully drooped down. It was properly just like, ugh. And then I just watered it last night, and it's now perked back up like perfectly, and it's like growing really, really well for me. I've got new growth in there. It's kind of hard to see, but that thing is some new growth. I've got like actually tons of new growth. It's just doing phenomenally, and I am loving, loving, loving having it here. I think having it in front of the TV definitely helps, because I literally watch it like a hawk because I'm looking at the TV frequently, and so I can monitor it a whole lot better here than I could where it was previously. I don't even remember where I had it previously, but it was like obviously not the right place for it. This is the right place for it in my home, and it's loving it. It's not getting too much light, but it's still getting some, and I can just water it way more, and it's like a happy little camper, which I'm really glad that I'm able to like keep it happier again, because I was really worried that I was failing with this one like tremendously. This area in here unfortunately still has thrips. I have noticed quite a lot on my mame, just kind of getting in those cracks there. They just run freaking rampant, so I've been squishing them again with my fingers. Like, you can see I've got predatory mites on here, but the thing with predatory mites is when your infestation gets quite big, which I think this one was a big infestation before I put the predatory mites on, it will not solve the problem. It is not curative at all. It is more for preventatory. So the predatory mites are probably working as hard as they can, but the population of thrips is multiplying faster than they can handle. So I think I'm gonna have to do another wash of these with horticultural soap. Totally can do, not a problem at all. I just need to do it. I was really excited before I left about my crystallinum putting out an inflow and a new leaf, but I think it is just sucking water tremendously at the minute because of the inflow and new leaf. I filled up its water reservoir before I went, and it is already like dry again completely. So I think that I'm just gonna need to stay a lot more on top of watering this one at the minute. It is quite thirsty. It doesn't help that it has been very, very hot here, and the water is likely evaporating a little bit faster. But I was really excited about that. I guess I'm not anymore, and I should probably just cut these off. That's like really unfortunate, because that's dead and gone. Yeah. Ugh. Might have a new leaf there though. That spike there might be a new leaf. Shame, 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 but it's okay. I just need to focus on getting rid of these pests, because I think that's the most important thing for this area at the minute. Things inside of my cactus cabinet are freaking thriving. I do think I need to give them a water that's fairly normal, because it has been, I think, just over a month or a month and a half since I watered them last, so it's probably definitely time. But things are growing so well. I didn't quite realize how the Ingens grows. Like, I didn't know that it grows these kind of leaf sort of things, and then they dry up and come off, and the spikes, before they go all like super sharp, they're soft as well. And so I've just been really enjoying watching this one have these little leaves. You can see a bunch of them are like coming off. I should probably just pull them off so they don't land in the soil. Not that I think they would rot in the soil at the minute, because it does stay fairly dry. But like I said, I should give things a good water in here, because I think that they would appreciate it. Good news though, I have checked over my Michelietiana and my banana plant, and I think they're doing okay now. I think I was able to get rid of the spider mites. I definitely was able to get rid of the spider mites. This leaf definitely has a thrip on it. It's an adult thrip though. This is the first year I've really had an issue with adult thrips. I've never previously had issues with adult thrips. I think it's just because we've had the windows open so much. It's only on the one leaf though. And I don't see any babies, which is good. I guess I'm just gonna have to give this like a super duper thorough check again, and I should probably wash these too. Like repeat the alcohol treatment on these anyways, even though I don't see anything. I have had the predatory mites on these as well, the spider mite ones, and I think they've been doing okay with that. I haven't noticed them, but I don't tend to notice the spider mite predatory mites as much as I notice the thrip ones. But I know they're still there and they're working hard. They're just not as easily visible from my perspective. But yeah, I think things are doing absolutely okay now. Nothing like major going on. They're not freaking out as much as they were before, which is really, really good. And they are still getting new growth. I've got one on my banana plant here. I've got some new growth here on my Mitchelletiana. So I think we're in a good place with those. I do need to give this one a little bit of water because it is quite thirsty. The windows have been open. It's been hot. Probably this one as well. I think I just need to go around and water everything just because I've been gone. But I wanted to show you kind of what things are like for the most part before, except for this Schismatic Lotus. That was like the only thing I watered yesterday because it had literally fainted and I was worried it was gonna die. So, but yeah, I think things are going really, really well here. And just in case, I will again wash my hands before I touch anything else. But yeah, all's well and good in this zone, which is freaking awesome. Just got two very small bits of good news in the bedroom. Just some very exciting new growth going on. So this is my Hoya Clementiorum, I believe, the one I imported that I lost the third bit of. It had 3 leaves to start with, and I lost the third, unfortunately. But it is finally on both of these 2 cuttings putting out new tiny little leaves, which is so exciting. I noticed them just before I left that they were like sprouting a little bit, and now they're actually like there's like little tiny little mini leaves on there, which is beyond exciting. I've literally just like sat on this one for so long. Sorry, I'm just like super paranoid about pests at the minute with it because it's got new growth on it. It's just a little bit more susceptible to pests and like damage, but they're looking so healthy now and still like very weird and alien-y. And you can see where like this part's not getting as much light as this is. It does live here on my shelf, and I do have a mother grow light on top of this area, so it's getting grow light I think 10 hours a day or 12 hours a day at the minute. This one goes on, oh yes, 12. This one goes on at 10 a.m. and turns off at 10 p.m. So it is getting quite a lot of light for an area that is otherwise like completely dark. This area gets no natural light whatsoever. So in order for me to actually be able to have plants here at all, I do need to have the grow light on. Otherwise it's just like, it's literally impossible. So yeah, I am just really excited that those are finally popping out a little bit of new growth. And I've got one more. Sorry, this light is a tiny bit horrendous, but the last one that I want to talk about today is my Stephonia erecta, because for ages, since like the beginning of spring, it has just had this one leaf. It sprouted all on its own. It wasn't in a pot or anything, but I have since potted it up. And I've been watering it semi-regularly, probably not as much as I could have been, but I was a little bit more on top of it before I went away. And it finally put out some new freaking growth on there, which is super duper exciting, because it was literally just the one leaf for months. So it is really great that it's finally doing something. This one is also reaching for a mother light, the one that's up there. That one's also on for 10 hours a day, goes on at 10 a.m. and turns off at 10 p.m. If not a little bit earlier, if Joe's like trying to get into the bedtime mood. Not that kind of bedtime mood, the like reading to go to sleep bedtime mood. Get your minds out of the gutter, guys. I should also say that I am an affiliate with Mother Grow Lights. If you want a discount on these beautiful things, amazing lights. I've got whole videos on them as well, but if you want a discount, you can use my link and code and stuff below and get that as well. Again, no pressure. But yeah, it's just doing phenomenally, and I'm really happy that it's finally done something, because it didn't feel like it was going to give me more than that one leaf this year. So that is it. That is like everything going on at the minute, the good and the bad. Ooh, sorry for that mess. I'm still unpacking. But yeah, I think overall, like, if I didn't mention something, that means it is just doing averagely fine. It's not doing anything insane. It's not doing anything good or bad. The things I shared about are just like the most extreme highs and lows at the minute within my collection. And yeah, I'm just really, really glad that most of it is okay and just surviving at the minute. Of course I want it to thrive, but just surviving is enough for me right now. So yeah, that is kind of what's going on with me and my plants at the minute. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up down below and leave a comment on other houseplanty things you'd like me to talk about in the future. If I mentioned anything in here today that you definitely want to watch. Oh, especially if you want to see a Schismatoglottis Willichii care video, because I feel like I got a handle on it. I feel like I could probably do a care video on that soon. If you want to see that, let me know down below in the comments, as well as anything else, or just want to say hi. Come say hi. Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!